glad you're here. Welcome to Models and Agents, episode 86 for June 19th, 2026. Your daily AI briefing. Your daily briefing on the AI models and agents that are changing everything. And no, not those kinds of models and agents. Let's get into it. Custom CUDA kernels now keep vector search inside the GPU for agentic RAG, cutting PCIe round trips that silently throttle long horizon agents. OpenAI reports GPT-5.5 Instant now matches its frontier models on health queries for free users. A new GPU resident top K kernel delivers deterministic microsecond tail latencies for retrieval. Research papers introduce selective multi-turn distillation, cache-aware RAG ordering, atomic fact memory for agents, and head-level attention hybridization. Builders should test the kernel and memory systems this week on retrieval-heavy workflows. The top story centers on a developer who built and open-sourced a CUDA kernel that performs top K vector search entirely on GPU. This eliminates the PCIe transfer latency that previously forced retrieval results to bounce off the CPU during agentic RAG inference. The approach replaces standard CPU-mediated vector search with a device-resident kernel. It produces deterministic microsecond scale tail latencies instead of variable round-trip costs. This directly addresses the silent bottleneck in long horizon agents, where retrieval happens repeatedly inside tool loops. The change preserves answer quality while making tail latency predictable. That matters for production agent deployments that must meet strict response time SLAs. Teams building retrieval-augmented agents should benchmark the kernel against their current retrieval step this week. This fits the ongoing arc in AI compute and inference, where inference economics keep tightening around predictable latency rather than average case throughput. Turning to model updates, OpenAI announced that GPT-5.5 Instant now matches its frontier thinking models on health-related questions. The model improves at recognizing when urgent care is needed, asking for relevant context, explaining uncertainty, and simplifying complex information. More than 230 million people weekly ask ChatGPT health questions, so the gains reach free tier users immediately. Physician-led evaluation drove the improvements. Builders working on consumer health tools should test GPT 5.5 Instant against paid frontier models for cost-sensitive deployments. Next, a Hubert is a 125 million parameter Roborata base model trained from scratch on a curated 45 GB Persian brand CUDA. It leads on extractive QA for PQADD with an F1 of 88.3542 and Parsi NLU RC with an F1 of 49.0987. It remains competitive on NER and topic classification. A vector database semantic deduplication step balanced domain coverage during pre-training. Persian NLP teams should try it for QA and retrieval tasks, where prior models underperformed. Terramars fine-tunes Gemma 3 1B with QLORA on Mars-specific QA and information extraction data. It then converts scientific literature into structured JSON. The pipeline targets atmosphere, hydrology, and surface chemistry questions relevant to habitability modeling. Output quality still requires further accuracy gains before downstream digital twin use. Researchers working on scientific literature extraction should examine the multi-stage chunking and retrieval framework. Moving to agent and tool developments, Sage OPD adds selective teacher intervention, SAG offense-weighted token distillation, and loss normalization to on-policy distillation for multi-turn agents. On AlfWorld, it delivers up to 13.3% relative improvement in unseen success rate over standard OPD. The method skips turns when environment feedback indicates no intervention is needed and reduces influence of uncertain teacher signals on corrupted histories. Agent developers facing compounding errors in long trajectories should test the turn-level selection logic. This continues the agents and tool use thread from recent episodes, where reliability of long horizon trajectories remains the central open question. AtomMem extracts high-value atomic facts from long interactions via a fact executor. It then organizes them into hierarchical event structures and temporal user profiles. Retrieval uses an associative memory graph to connect fragmented episodes. On the Locomol benchmark, it reaches state-of-the-art results for multi-session reasoning tasks. Teams building personalized agents should evaluate the fact extraction step against coarser memory representations. Cache-Weaver maintains a prefix tree of recently served evidence sequences. It greedily reorders retrieved documents to maximize prefix cache hits in VLLM. It reduces median TTFT by 20 to 33% relative to retrieval order caching across 3 VLLM configurations, without changing answer quality. The greedy policy recovers 97.5% of an Oracle ordering's gains. RAG teams hitting prefix cache misses on overlapping evidence should integrate the lightweight scheduling layer. A study on streaming tool intent stabilization measures when speculative tool queries in streaming RAG converge to the correct result before the user finishes typing. At realistic settings of 600 millisecond tool latency and 3 words per second input, 73.9% of CRAG questions admit substantial latency hiding. Query type analysis shows early stabilization is predictable enough to justify learned triggers. Developers shipping low latency retrieval agents should examine the stabilization distribution on their own query logs. In practical and community, Stage uses spreadsheet-grounded LLM synthesis to create paired reports and JSON schemas. It validates every ground truth value against the source spreadsheet. On the 851 example, stage-u value set, it lifts Quen34B exact match from 31.37% to 74.27%. The pipeline removes the usual hallucination risk in synthetic structured data creation. Teams extracting from financial or clinical documents should compare stage-generated training data against purely synthetic baselines. GEMS applies norm-preserving superposition and real-time orthogonalization, so multiple non-orthogonal directions can be injected into the residual stream without collapse. On GSM 8K, it preserves 98% accuracy while adding 3 concurrent non-mathematical directions. Unconstrained addition drops to 4%. The method works across 3B to 31B models with no retraining. Alignment and control researchers should test the orthogonalization step on refusal and style vectors. Hydra Head fuses full and linear attention at head granularity rather than layer granularity. It preserves full attention only on retrieval critical heads. After a 3-stage transfer pipeline, it matches a 3-to-1 layer-wise hybrid's long context performance at a 7-to-1 LA to FA ratio, while training on only 15 B tokens. The approach yields more than 69% improvement over baseline at 512K context. Long context model builders should study the interpretability-driven head selection method. Okay, let's pop the hood on head-level attention hybridization. Everyone talks about hybrid attention as a simple layer-wise swap between full and linear attention. In practice, the decision is finer-grained because heads inside the same layer already specialize. Some focus on retrieval while others handle local patterns. Hydra Head therefore keeps full attention only on the retrieval critical heads identified through interpretability analysis. It routes the rest through linear attention. Orthogonalization prevents the distributional shift that would otherwise accumulate when mixing the 2 output distributions. The resulting model reaches 69% gains at 512K context after training on just 15 B tokens. This shows that head-level selection recovers most of the quality of denser hybrids at far lower cost. When your workload is retrieval heavy and context exceeds 128 CAC, start with head-level hybridization rather than uniform layer replacement. The main gotcha is that head selection must be redone when the base model or domain changes. This development moves the open weight model's arc forward by narrowing the gap with closed frontier systems on long context retrieval without proportional increases in training tokens. Things to try this week include testing the open-sourced GPU resident top K kernel on your current RAG agent loop to measure tail latency reduction on repeated retrieval steps. Run Adam Mem's fact executor on a multi-session conversation dataset and compare fact density against summary-based memory baselines. Apply Cacheweaver's prefix tree reordering to an existing VLLM deployment, handling overlapping evidence sets and record TTFT changes. Evaluate state-generated JSON training data on your own extraction task before investing in manual annotation. Experiment with GEMS orthogonalization when steering multiple style or safety vectors simultaneously in a 7B to 13B model. On the horizon, watch for production deployments of head-level hybrid models once the 15B token training recipe is reproduced at larger scale. Expect more agent memory systems built around atomic facts as locomole results propagate. Monitor open-source releases of selective multi-turn distillation code following the SageOp-Optics-Scal-. Before we go, keep an eye on whether streaming tool stabilization triggers appear in major agent frameworks within the next quarter. That wraps up today's AI briefing. Share this with a developer or builder who wants to stay current. Subscribe wherever you listen. See you tomorrow. And before you go, this show is part of the NARA Network, a family of daily podcasts covering tech, science, markets, and more. If you enjoyed today's episode, give Tesla Shorts Time a listen, your daily deep dive into everything Tesla. You can explore the whole lineup at naranetwork.com. This episode used AI voice synthesis of my voice. Editorial selection and analysis are my own.